Hello guys and welcome back to Phat Pack Magic. We're here at Darkside Games for their F&M Pioneer event. Now, you might recognize a friendly face on the right, and that's Dylan Peterson, who plays in our Phat Pack Magic Vintage Cube events. Now, he is running Mono Green, a far cry from his normal aggro decks, and he's going to be going down to 6 from a mulligan, same as Sean, who's running Izzet Ensoul. This is the kind of deck that has been making the rounds on Reddit and on Discord, and let's find out why. So Sean starts off his turn with a Gingerbrute into the red zone, crashing in at Dylan for 19. Dylan follows up his turn with an Elvish Mystic. And, I mean, it's actually rare to not have a turn 1 Dork in that kind of deck. But Sean has no fear, crashing in with the Gingerbrute, offering a trade with the Mystic, but Dylan declines and takes 1 damage. But Sean follows it up with Heart of Gingerbrute and a Ghostfire Blade, an especially dangerous card for his deck. Dylan plays land for turn. Now, unfortunately, he's got a Voracious Hydra in hand that he wants to spend and blow up something big. But Sean McKay's deck is full of Dorks and Ghostfire Blades, so he's not going to be able to get advantage for a few turns. But he plays it down, eating the Heart of Gingerbrute, and Sean starts his turn. Now, Sean deciding if he wants to start his plan of attack now, or if he wants to try and just crash in with the Gingerbrute and make it hasty and save the Ghostfire Blade for later. But I think he's got the right play. He's tapping the mana, making the Ghostfire Blade on the Gingerbrute, swinging in for 3, and Dylan goes down to 15 as Sean plays a Stonecoil Serpent for 2, giving it 2 counters, and it's got Reach, Trample, Protection from Multicolored, and it's got 2 counters on it. What a card. Now, unfortunately, the Protection from Multicolored is kind of trinket text against Dylan's deck, but Dylan's got the follow-up. It's Vivien Arcbow Ranger. Now, Vivien is going to put 2 counters on that Voracious Hydra, making it a 3/4 and liable to trade with that Gingerbrute if it crashes in again without pumping its ability with haste. But Vivien also has a very relevant ability, allowing her to make a creature fight another, and she's up to 5. Sean draws for turn and equips the Ghostfire Blade to the Stonecoil Serpent, makes it so the Gingerbrute can only be blocked by creatures with haste, and crashes in for 5, all at Vivien Arcbow Ranger. Now, unfortunately, Dylan can't block the Gingerbrute and can only chump block the Stonecoil Serpent. But does he want to do that? Is the Vivien Arcbow Ranger worth a 3/4 Voracious Hydra? Granted, the Hydra isn't going to be able to pump again without the Vivien, so he's going to chump with the Voracious Hydra in front of the Stonecoil Serpent, but trample damage is going to... No, it's only 4 damage and 4 toughness. So Vivien is going to take 1 point of damage from the Gingerbrute, and Sean passes the turn back. And Dylan finds another Vivien Arcbow Ranger off the top and a Nykthos. So Nykthos is going to give him access to 4 mana just from tapping it, so only 1 ramp, but then he's going to have 2 more with the Mystic and the other forest that doesn't get tapped. So he has access to 6 mana on this turn. Now in hand he has a Scavenging Ooze, but does he want to start trading the Ooze for the Stonecoil Serpent? So he activates Nykthos, adding 4 green to his mana pool, using 2 of it on the Scavenging Ooze, and Scavenging Ooze is going to exile a creature, gaining Dylan 1 precious life, putting him up to 16, and he still has 1 green floating, and he's going to exile the Hydra, putting him up to 17 and making that Ooze a 4/4, and now the Ooze is going to be a 6/6 with a Vivien Arcbow Ranger pump. Now, Sean has drawn a very clutch Ghostfire Blade, which, with Gingerbrute, it means that Vivien is not long for this world. Now, he plays the Ghostfire Blade, equips it to the Gingerbrute, equips the other one to the Gingerbrute, plays land, makes it so Gingerbrute can only be blocked by creatures with haste, crashes in at Vivien for 5 critical damage, putting her to the yard, and leaving Dylan with only a Mana Dork and a Scavenging Ooze on top. But here comes the other Vivien, maybe? 4 mana. He's going to play the other Vivian Arcbow Ranger, and it could be fighting time. Yep, he's going to have the Scavenging Ooze fight the Gingerbrute, and then play out an Elvish Mystic. But now, Dylan has another creature in a graveyard that the Scavenging Ooze can eat and gain a critical power and toughness. But Phyrexian Revoker comes down like a Pithing Needle creature and turns off Vivian as long as it remains in play. Sean equips the 2 Ghostfire Blades to the Stonecoil Serpent and passes the turn back with a 6/6 reach, trample, protection from multicolored creature. But here comes Elvish Mystic tapping for mana, and Scavenging Ooze exiles the Gingerbrute, eating it and becoming a 7/7. Now, unfortunately, the Vivian can't activate this turn, and it doesn't look like Dylan drew anything relevant. It looks like it's another Nykthos. And unfortunately, he's got to pass the turn back, going on pure defense and hoping that Sean is in the same boat. Dylan draws for turn, and Sean is holding on to a singleton of... Ooh, wow! He's got a Shrapnel Blast in hand, but here comes a little something spicy that the Izzet Ensoul deck is known for, taking 1 damage by activating the Shivan Reef, and he plays the Skilled Animator. And that turns the Stonecoil Serpent into a base 5/5 creature with 2 counters on it, and then 4 additional power and toughness with the Ghostfire Blades, making it an 11/11, crashing in at Dylan with Trample. Dylan is in a very rough shot here. He needs some way to take care of that Skilled Animator and bring the Stonecoil Serpent to heal. Dylan deciding on how much life he's going to take, and he throws an Elvish Mystic in the way of it, taking only 10 damage, bringing him down to 18, and using the other Elvish Mystic to put a +1/+1 counter on the Scavenging Ooze and gaining him a life. But unfortunately, Dylan has found a Llanowar Elves as his draw for the turn, and he's stuck on a mana flood, while Sean McKay has a crippling advantage here. An 11/11 with Trample, and Dylan has only got 9 power and toughness to throw in front of it. Now 10, and that's going to be 3 damage more, or less, than Sean needs to deal to be able to kill off Dylan. So he swings in again. 11 damage, 12, 13, 14, all at your face. Dylan is in dire straits here. He needs some way to get through this, because even with the Scavenging Ooze as an 8/8, he's going to be taking 3 trample damage. Dylan trying to decide his blocks. He can give up his entire board, maybe trade with the Phyrexian Revoker with an Elf or a Dork, and that'll turn on Vivian again. But still, he's going to have to figure out some way to deal with that 11/11 Trampler. Dylan assigns blocks. 1, 1. He's going to take 4 damage total after Trample, and with that Skilled Animator crashing in as well. Damage happens. Dylan goes down to 4. Sean, starting his main phase 2, taps, Shrapnel Blast, sacking the Darksteel Citadel, and that is lethal. And the first game goes to Sean, and wow, I love that Izzet Ensoul deck. It looks so much fun. Like, you don't expect that deck to really come out swinging like it does, but it just did, and it brought the game for Sean. But we're gonna take a quick break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, I want to give a quick shout out here to Your Playmat. These guys offer fully customizable playmats, card sleeves, and foil playmats. Now, I wouldn't be talking to you guys about these mats unless I personally believed in them. So check this out. Yeah, That is the Mox Jet altar on the Phat Pack Magic draft videos, and we put that on a mat. And here's the best part. Your playmat believes in me and believes in my channel, and therefore believes in you guys. So that's why they're doing a special discount code only for Phat Pack Magic YouTube subscribers. Put in the code PPM15 and get 15% off any playmat you order. Foil, regular, anything you're looking for. PPM 15. So what are you guys waiting for? Go make your own mats and show off your style. And we're back. Both players are almost done shuffling up, and Dylan is going to have to be a lot more proactive and a lot more creature interactive for this game. Sean McKay is just able to get down that Ensoul artifact, that skilled animator, and make those innocuous 1/1 derpy dudes into 5/5 creatures that can smash in with semi-relevant abilities. Like, for Sean's deck, I wouldn't imagine Gingerbrute being as much of a beater as it was in that game. And Ghostfire Blade, a random rare from Dragons of Tarkir that gives colorless creatures +2/+2 if you equip it for 1. That's Bone Splitter level, baby. But players are almost done deciding on whether or not they're going to keep. Dylan says he's good. Sean, going over the cards, looking like he's okay. He's got an Ensoul artifact in hand. He's got lands. He's okay. And Dylan plays a forest and passes the turn. No mana dork. Now that is strange for his deck. But Sean starts his turn off with a Bomat Courier crashing in for 1, bringing Dylan down to 19. And Dylan looks like he's got something to do. It's a Burning Tree Emissary into Walking Ballista. Now, that is a creature for Sean McKay's deck. Now, I'm pretty sure Walking Ballista is a main board for mono green, but holy hell. Sean swings in with the Bomat Courier, Dylan blocks with the Burning Tree Emissary, and Sean follows up his turn with an Ensoul artifact on a Darksteel Citadel. An indestructible 5/5 creature on turn 2 seems pretty good. Dylan taps 1 forest. Here's a Llanowar Elf. And looks like he's going to start going on offense, dealing 3 damage to Sean and passing the turn back. Sean draws for turn, drops a Mutavault, and he's got a handful of goodies as he crashes in against Dylan, but Dylan chumps with a Llanowar Elves, and Sean follows up his turn with a Heart of Gingerbrute. Dylan untap, upkeep, draw. The Walking Ballista is only a 1/1 right now, but Vivian seems like it's time for her to come down and change all of that math. Here's 4. Here's Vivian. Vivian going +1, putting 2 counters on the Walking Ballista, and I'm pretty sure Walking Ballista has something to do with that, as he crashes in for 3, bringing Sean down to 14, and then second main, blowing up the Heart of Gingerbrute with 1 +1/+1 counter, and next turn he's got a lot more to give. But Sean, he's got a 5/5 indestructible creature, and he's gonna crash in for 7 at the Vivian. Vivian dies, not even a chump block or an offer to trade with the Burning Tree Emissary on Dylan's part. He says he's fine with it. Draws for turn, but we know he's got another Vivian Arcbow Ranger in hand. Now the question is, does he want to deploy it? I mean, he could start chump blocking next turn with the Burning Tree Emissary, but he decides he does, and he's going to put 2 more counters on that Walking Ballista, making it a 4/4 as he swings in for 4 damage, bringing Sean down to 10. Now the thing with Walking Ballista is all those counters basically means double damage at some point in time, so Sean is effectively at 6 life right now. But Sean has a Shrapnel Blast that he can try and fire off. He would have to trade his Darksteel Citadel for it, but he swings in for 5. Chump block happens with the Burning Tree, jumping in front of it, and this leaves Dylan with another turn for Vivian and that beautiful Walking Ballista. Dylan has a couple cards in hand, deciding on whether or not he wants to deploy something, and it looks like he does. He's going to start off with the Llanowar Elf, and he's going to plus Vivian to 6, making the Walking Ballista a 6/6 with trample. Sean takes the damage, goes down to 4, but does he not realize that the Walking Ballista is going to start the shoot fest? And a shotgun splatter of ballistas at Sean's face is going to give Dylan a game win and tie it up 1-1 as we get ready to move on to game 3. And we're on to game 3. Dylan has tied the games 1-1, and I'm wondering if it's just worth it for him to mulligan into Walking Ballista. Dylan's deck is able to ramp out tons of mana into that big fat ballista that's so primed against Sean, being able to ping those 1/1 dudes before or in response to the pump effects that Sean has available. Now, Sean has a risky keep. He says he's going to go for it though, and Dylan, it looks like he's to decide, yep, he's good. Sean, starting off his opening salvo with the signature Gingerbrute, crashing in for 1 damage and bringing Dylan down to 19. Dylan isn't going to take that laying down though. He's going to start off with the forest into an 0/2 Gilded Goose, which is going to make a food token, and there's a nice little dork that's going to be able to block the Gingerbrutes. And Sean deploys another one, but a Gilded Goose is going to fly in the way, taking only 1 damage, bringing Dylan down to 18. Now, Dylan, depends on whether or not he wants to deploy that Voracious Hydra that he has in hand. And I don't know about that. I mean, killing off a 1/1 Gingerbrute isn't going to make the Ensoul artifact that Sean has in hand any worse. But he's going to go with another Gilded Goose, making a food token and passing the turn back. Now Sean is stuck on lands until now, and he plays out a Shivan Reef, untaps it? Nope, he's going to go for the Ensoul artifact on the Shivan Reef, making the Gingerbrute a 5/5 hasty dude that crashes in. Dylan decides not to block with a goose and takes 5 damage, going down to 13. Now, Sean's deck doesn't need a lot of mana to really function, as we can see here. It's a lot of 1 and 2 mana creatures and spells, but Dylan needs to make his land drops every turn. But right now, he's going to deploy a Jadelight Ranger, an oldie and goodie from the previous standard rotation, and I like it in his deck because it's going to filter through lands and excess mana dorks. So right now, it's a 4/3. And Sean is going to start off his turn with a Spire of Industry. He's hit his land drops. It's pretty good for Sean. And now he just wants gas. Now the question is, does he want to hold up that Stubborn Denial? It's a perfect 1-mana counter spell against Dylan's deck. But Dylan isn't really operating off of a lot of non-creature spells. The main things that Sean is worried about are Planeswalkers. And right now he's looking at a Voracious Hydra. Sean swings in for 5. And it gets blocked by the Gilded Goose. Sean's second main phase is an Aether Sphere Harvester, and passes the turn over to Dylan. Dylan's at 13 now, so he doesn't have a lot of life to gamble with, but he can start kind of making little risky moves. He's got 2 food tokens, effectively 6 life for 4 mana, but he doesn't want to spend a turn fogging damage. So here comes Vivian Arcbow Ranger, putting 2 counters on that Jadelight Ranger. And now if Sean wants to get through the damage and kill off the Vivian, he doesn't have to. Sean has lethal on board right now. He's got the Shrapnel Blast. He can use the extra Gingerbrute to crew the Harvester and give the other Gingerbrute that's a 5/5 only blockable by haste. That's 8 damage. And then Shrapnel Blast, that's 13 damage. Wow, Sean has lethal, but he's really going over it. Does he see the line of play to where he just wins this turn? Dylan's only at 13. He double checks the life totals, kind of scratching at his head. Could Dylan just have like a 1-mana spell that would completely fog out Sean's turn and turn the game around for Dylan? But even still, Sean has another Shrapnel Blast in hand. So he's going to go for it, making the Gingerbrute unblockable except by haste, except swinging at the Vivian. And then crewing, and Dylan says, nope, that's not going to fly. You already went to attacks. Oh, wow. And he's going to roast the Jadelight Ranger. And Dylan's at 13. Sean might be able to do that play next turn, but still, he should have gone for it. I think he might have just overthought his line of play and made a really huge freaking punt right there. Oh, wow. I mean, because Dylan's at 13, and Aether Sphere's 3 damage, Gingerbrute's 5 damage, Shrapnel Blast is 5. I mean, maybe he just didn't do the math right? Maybe he was kind of just overthinking it. Who knows? I mean, sometimes when you're on camera, there's a lot of pressure. And sometimes you just miss lines of play because, like, we're watching it from a top-down angle. We see what's going on. But Dylan starts off his turn with a Nissa who shakes the world, untapping a land and putting 3+1/+1 counters on it and passing the turn back to Sean. Sean might be able to get in this turn and do it, but Dylan has access to another food token for his 2 mana, and that would bring him up to 16. But still, 13 damage crashing in at Dylan, and then another Shrapnel Blast. That would be a lot. So, Gingerbrute is going to crew the Harvester before combat. It's not going to crew the Harvester. Sean, double thinking now. He can't make any more mistakes. Dylan having access to multiple food tokens is incredibly dangerous now. Sean is going to crew up the Harvester. Crashing in at Nissa. And, I mean, is he going to try and get the land to block? Okay, so he's going to make sure that the Gingerbrute can only be blocked by creatures with haste. Dylan attempts to block creatures with haste. Wait. The Nissa gives creatures... It's not until end of turn. The creatures just have haste. Wow. So Sean uses energy to gain 3 life. Dylan blocks and uses the land to tap for 2 and gain 3 life off the food token, bringing him up to 16. Nissa only takes 3 points of damage. Dylan is at 16 now, a very, very healthy life total, and he has access to 10 mana. 11 with the food token, but looks like he's just going to play down the Voracious Hydra and chomp up the Gingerbrute, but in response, Sean is going to sacrifice the Gingerbrute, taking 1 damage off the land, and then dealing 5 to Nissa with the Shrapnel Blast, meaning that she's not going to be able to make another land token. But that's fine, because Dylan has an 8/9 Voracious Hydra, and it conveniently has some good old trample damage coming. Sean in dire straits here. He needs to figure out a game plan fast. Dylan's at 16, but he has access to repetitive life gain with that goose. Sean goes to combat, crews the Aether Sphere Harvester, gives it lifelink, crashes in at Dylan, bringing him down to 13. But that food token is 3 life. And who can really believe how relevant food tokens have become in this metagame? Sean plays out the Hangerback Walker for 2. And Dylan, 3 mana. What has he got? It's a Jade Light Ranger that reveals Vivian Arcbow off the top and representing another 2 damage of trample that can go through at Sean. Sean's at 23 after the lifelink, but that Voracious Hydra is representing a 3-turn clock. 2 counters go on the Jade Light Ranger as Dylan crashes in for 8 damage. Sean takes it. He can't afford to give up a creature at this point. He needs something juicy like an Ensoul artifact or a skilled animator. But he draws counter magic, and that'll keep the Vivian off the field, but it won't win the game for Sean against an 8/9 Hydra. Sean swings in for 3 damage. Dylan goes down to 10. Dylan sacrifices a food token, gaining 3 life. He's got mana this turn. He may as well start using it. Sean is in dire straits here. He needs to get damage through and fast, but he passes the turn back. Dylan untaps. Here's Vivian, Arcbow Ranger, into hand. Is it going to be onto the field? Dylan plays out the Arcbow Ranger, and Sean, stubborn denial. It's going to counter it unless he pays 1. Dylan's like, okay, I guess I'll pay 1. But Sean's like, Metallic Rebuke, I guess I meant to do that instead. And so Vivian is countered, but now Sean is still facing down 8 damage with that, with that Voracious Hydra and the Jade Light Ranger, dealing 12, bringing Sean to 3. And Dylan just, matter-of-factly plays out an Elvish Mystic. Yeah, sure, whatever. Sean draws for turn. Here's a Dark Steel Spire Citadel. And he's gonna pump up the Hangerback Walker just for funsies. Nope, untaps it. Puts it down to 2 counters. It seems like Sean's on tilt at the moment, and we gotta be gentle with him. I mean, he probably knows he punted the game at this point, and he's just gotta figure out a way to win. So the Voracious Hydra is crashing in at Sean. Sean has got to do a lot of blocks and a lot of shenanigans to get through this. He's got to absorb 6 of the 8 damage from the Voracious Hydra. And it looks like he's doing stuff out of order. Blocking phaser. It looks like he might just be trying to kind of see how things line up and then go to blocks. Alright, so he untaps the mana, undoes the counters on the Hangerback Walker. He's definitely going to crew the Aether Sphere Harvester. Unfortunately, there's no more lifelink to be had in this situation. He's already used up all of his energy, but still, the Harvester is a 3/5, and the Hangerback Walker is a 2/2, and unfortunately, they're not going to be able to trade with the Hydra, but it will at least put 3 Doctors on Sean's side of the field. But unfortunately, Dylan is at a hypothetical 16 life. He'll be able to make a food token with the Gilded Goose and then sack the food token itself and put him at 16. Sean desperately trying to figure out a way. Is there a way for him to come back from this? I mean, it doesn't look like Sean has a lot of draw spells, but he would need a lot of Shrapnel Blasts and a lot of damage just to be able to get through. So that's how he's going to block, putting a 1/1 counter on the Hangerback Walker, scooping up the Aether Sphere Harvester and the Walker, and now he's going to be able to make 3 1/1 Thopter tokens. He has Shrapnel Blast in hand, so that's 5 damage. So he needs to figure out a way to get an additional 11 damage at Dylan's face, and it looks like he's going to start with the Shrapnel Blast. But he's going to kill off the Hydra instead of trying to go for the Winsies. But I don't think it would take a degenerate amount of cantrips and spells for Sean to get out of this game alive. Sean is at 3 life, but a top deck Ensoul artifact would be the only thing he needs and start putting pressure back against Dylan. Dylan has drawn a land for the turn. No, he's drawn a Walking Ballista. Oh, wow. Sean is at 3. Dylan starts his turn by swinging in at Sean. Now, Sean could triple block and stay at 3, but it looks like he's going to chump block and eat his Gingerbrute to gain 3 life. A nice little buffer, putting him up to 6. But Dylan's got a roasting finale here for Sean, putting 3 counters onto the Walking Ballista instead of 4 because he could have used the Gilded Goose and the mana from the Elvish Mystic. But you know what? The 3/3 Walking Ballista is fine too. And passes the turn back to Sean. Now, he's facing down a 4/3 and a 3/3. He can double chump block, or Dylan could just shoot both of the Thopters, crash in for 4, and then shoot, or swing. Sean sees the math. It's game. Dylan wins 2-1, and you have to feel bad for Sean. He missed that incredible line of play, but you know what? Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you're under a lot of pressure when you're on camera like this. So let's cut Sean some slack, okay? But stay tuned because we are just getting started for this FNM Pioneer event. We've got so many interesting decks to see. I personally can't wait to see them myself. But is there a deck that you've been craving to see play out? Well, let me know in the comment section below and we'll get that on camera for you. So tap that like button, hit subscribe, and the notification bell. That way you'll know when I put out new videos. And you can check out some of the behind the scenes footage on Instagram. And if you really like the content and you want to support, check out some of the links in the description below. But until next time, may all your packs be fat.